I have to share? You sure? English class. Not so kind word teacher. First period. On a day I'm already barely holding life together and have already cried twice. For some context, I am normally a very proactive sharer. As top of my class, I believe in all working together and sharing to learn more. Furthermore, I did not have a great childhood at all. Lots of garbage stuff has happened which I really don't want to go into. I digress. Our new assignment is to make it Where I'm From poem. The original by George Ella Leone. Go ahead, look it up. As a brainstorming activity for this assignment, we were going around the room multiple times talking about happy things that we remember and want to write about in our poems. When she would get to me, I said I didn't want to share, and that was respected for 3 rounds. Unfortunately, I wasn't going to get away with this uncomfortable avoidance, and finally my teacher was insistent I shared. Despite many protests, I was told I must share, and seeing as my morning has been rough, I wasn't in the mood to make stuff up. Yeah, I could probably write about the abuse of daycare for things I used to look forward to. Oh, and for phrases our parents repeated a lot, I could probably talk about all the arguing and throwing stuff and fuck yous that were tossed around. And all of my memories from recess. I'm sure it would be great to talk about how I used to go cry with a coloring book behind the big oak tree on the far side of the playground in elementary school. The whole class went silent. Not a word. And that's new when I won. My teacher's response was, well, I think now's a good time for a mask break. I have since been told I could have an alternate assignment if I wanted, but I've declined. I think this might be a good therapeutic activity, and making her uncomfortable is an added bonus. Clarifications. My parents were not abusive to me, but rather I have gone through several divorces on both sides, so there was an awful lot of grown-up fighting. I did share the nasty parts of my childhood willingly. Yes, I could have made something up, but frankly, I'm not one to give in when I see wrongdoing. I have accepted my past and learned to grow from it, and I know that there are other people like me who have not. It's for them that I did this. To some of the haters, I am not one who makes this my lifestyle. I am not someone who has let this take control of my life. I've had my downs, but man have I had my ups, and that's where I'm going. I'm grateful for the tough times, but at the same time, we all have those touchy days, and even the best of us can barely hold it together sometimes. TLDR was forced to share childhood memories, despite stating multiple times that I was uncomfortable doing so. In return, I made the whole class, especially the teacher, very uncomfortable with a short, small list of my medium sad memories. Important note: some individuals seem to be mistaking the purpose of this post. This post is merely to show people that it's okay to take a stand. This post is to remind people that we are not alone. This post is to bring a smile to those who have been through something like this and regretted not doing something about it. This post is to make a difference in someone's life, no matter how small. This post is not to say I have it worse than anyone else. With that said, none of you know my story. What I have listed is the beginning of the list. Downplaying my story is downplaying every single story out there. There are millions of people like me. If that's not you, that's okay. If you think I'm being petty, okay. We have a difference of opinion. But from what I sense, many individuals stand with my action. I'm not doing this for sympathy. I'm not doing this for attention. I'm happy with my life. I'm not happy with disrespect. That is the theme of this post. Edit. Holy cow. I did not expect this to blow up like it has. Thank you so much. And thanks for the award. My first one. Edit 2. Some clarifications. And thank you. Holy cow. I did not expect this to blow up. I was amazed when it hit 500. And by the end of lunch, it was double. And now this? And all the awards? Thank you so much, kind internet strangers. Edit 3. An overwhelming people want to know what a mask break is. Basically, as we are mandated to wear them all day, which most people despise, our teachers can bring us outside, so we can socially distance, 14 feet apart minimum, to take them off for a couple minutes. My district hasn't had a single case yet, and all guidelines are being followed to the letter. Edit 4. Added TL.DR. Back when I was in like 6th grade, one was going through an oddly dark time for a 6th grader. But I was super good at hiding it. Like Robin Williams. RIP. Level of hiding. I was voted funniest multiple times. It was the only light in my life, making other people happy. I digress. We had to write a poem for an English class once, and man, I honestly wish I still had it. It was about a soldier who had lost everything on 9/11. This was like 2 years after 9/11 at the time of writing. The soldier went overseas because, well, he had nothing left to lose. And the poem ended with it being pretty obvious that he shot in the head, as the last line read, and the last thing he saw was red. Well, when everyone was going around taking turns reading them voluntarily, my teacher, who actually I really got along with, kept pressuring me to read my poem. I kept trying to deflect, but to no avail. I was never good at the grammar aspect of English class, but she knew at the very least it would be creative, probably funny. So I reluctantly take that stage, so to speak. Most of my classmates are expecting something comical, as I used that as a coping method growing up. Well, I read my poem in silence. My teacher, I'm pretty sure, was about to cry because it was super dark from someone so small and seemingly nice, and 100% not what she was expecting. She told me this after I graduated, as it sat with her for a long time, I guess. She felt bad about it, and she was a good person and a really good teacher. In hindsight, I'm kinda glad it all went down the way it did. It started the conversation with my mom that the drugs that I was given for AD were clearly not working, and that it was only making me more and more depressed as the days went on. Through the years, I went on pretty much every single drug you could give a kid for ADHD when I was always juicy AD. Took until my junior year of high school to get completely off of the meds. I'll never go back to those meds. Never ever. Good for you. Definitely taught her a lesson not to force students to share. During French class, we had to tell about the saddest thing that's ever happened. Like, WTF, what a shitty question. Also, this was at a military college, and I was going back to school as a mature student, and I had already been deployed to Afghanistan twice. I, admittedly, didn't really like the teacher, but I hated that she wanted me to relive and translate the saddest story I knew. I asked several times to answer a different question, but she thought I had prepared an answer for that different question. I warned her. I told her it's really sad. Like, I've literally been to war, and you want to hear the saddest story I know? Kind of warning. No budging from her. It's time to answer the question. So I talked for a while about the saddest thing. On patrol 6 miles past the middle of nowhere, we gave a girl some Tylenol. We gave as much aid as we could to a little girl who had horrific injuries from a cooking accident. She was only 5, maybe 6 years old, and she had fallen into a fire pit a few days before we got there. We knew that the girl was quite likely going to die painfully from her infected burns. We made her as comfortable as possible. Under the circumstances, we gave away a bottle of Tylenol. Not much to give away, but not much else we could do, since heavy medication would need regular monitoring from the doc, and he didn't carry antibacterials anyways. We were deep into a Taliban-controlled area, so we couldn't stay long without risking getting attacked. Notoriously bad for the locals. In return, her dad fed us fresh naan right out of the oven. To thank us, he had tears in his eyes because his little girl had some pain relief. given how much food he gave away, that family probably went hungry for a while. You've never tasted naan until you've tasted it authentic fresh. We never saw them again. The village was too far from us to visit regularly, which is largely why we couldn't realistically medevac the kid to a hospital. I suppose we could have, but the kid would never have been able to return home, and the dad could never have afforded to travel to the city to get her, afford to pay someone to get her. There's a chance that she could have recovered, but not much. A bottle of Tylenol isn't much, but at least she didn't live out her last few days in total agony. I think her dad knew the deal, and he was okay with it. He got to spend some more time with his kid. I guess we won some hearts and minds that day. Sure doesn't feel like it. Doesn't seem worth it to offer help but do things substantial. Teacher gave us an early lunch, and that sad story question got taken out of the curriculum. Anyways, fuck you, Mrs. G. You were an okay French teacher, but a pretty shitty human. We used to do I am from poems in our program. One of the foundational ground rules for this activity is you never force anyone to share. It's a self-reflection that can also be used to encourage sharing. But absolutely no one is entitled to parts of your background that you're not ready to reveal. We had counselors on site and available throughout to anyone who wanted support. Forced sharing turns it into a trauma porn and a triggering activity, especially if there is no mental health support provided as part of the activity. I have a similar story from when I was at a very Christian school where having kids with a single parent was unusual. Most everybody there was absolutely amazing, kind, and were quality teachers. One of the rare exceptions was our band teacher. He could not have given a rat's ass about the 1 hour of religion class he had to teach. Everybody had religion first period and all the teachers taught it. When complaints piled up that all he ever did was have us memorize Bible verses and read aloud in class, he found this book of discussion starters for youth groups and would have us all share something based on whatever question he randomly flipped to. A couple weeks into doing this, he had a question about how our fathers had influenced our relationship with Jesus. Mine bailed never to be seen again when I was 5. So, I tried to explain this when it was my turn and that I had nothing that really fit. He foolishly asked if I had any memories of my father that involved Jesus at all. Well, I did learn that you're not supposed to say his name the way my mother did when she was hurling all his stuff on the front lawn and throwing empty beer cans at him. I got to go have a special chat with the vice principal after that. It was so very worth it. This reminds me of a friend. She had a troubled past as well and would write down thoughts and memories in a notebook. One day our maths teacher got angry with my friend because she was writing in her notebook during class. My friend apologized and was about to put the book in her backpack, but suddenly the teacher grabbed it and started reading the things that were written in there out loud. My friend threw a chair through a window. I think there is nothing wrong with what you did, as teachers should respect their pupils' privacy. Oh my God, yes. I have a similar memory. I vaguely remember being in one of those DARE classes in elementary school. They kind of forced me to share something about why I think drugs are bad, or some shit like that. I remember saying, well, my dad tried to kill me on them. So, and everyone just froze and I wasn't asked again. Ask someone who's on the edge of a breakdown to share happy memories. It never goes well. Oh man, I had a similar assignment in HS English class many years ago. Not long after that poem was published, I believe. Our English teacher told us that she had gotten the assignment at a summer conference thing she went to. I guess the idea really took hold. I absolutely hated any kind of personal narrative assignments in school, and especially hated the idea of sharing a poem about my personal life in front of the entire class. which was mandatory as part of the assignment. I ended up just not doing it, despite it being a major assignment worth a good portion of our grade. Teacher called me up and I just said I didn't do the assignment and took the hit. Malicious compliance or just making up some bullshit would have been a smarter move. But I was too uncomfortable sharing personal things to do the former and too angry about it to do the latter. Adults never learn how to listen to others and respect their decisions. If teacher had asked why he didn't want to talk, he might have learned something instead of looking like a jerk in front of the class who made a kid talk about what a rotten life they had. I think this might be a good therapeutic activity, and making her uncomfortable is an added bonus. Love it. I'm so sorry she forced you into that position at all, but I hope at least she'll reconsider compulsory participation of this nature in the future. You never know what someone's been through, and asking for details of their personal life under the guise of a cutesy project activity feels inappropriate. What is mask break? I like that you're going to write the assignment. It's a teaching point not only to your teacher but also to your peers. The lessons I see here are twofold. 1. Don't insist on asking. 2. You should be prepared to listen about people's bad experiences before you ask the first time. I think your experience isn't as extreme, but this is my personal example. I had a friend who casually mentioned that he tried to kill himself. Everyone else, including me, pretended we didn't hear it and hooked on to a different topic. Because people are naturally uncomfortable with heavy topics like that. But later on I realized what had happened and made a point to ask him more when it came up again. By that time I had prepared myself to listen intently and be comfortable with such a heavy topic. I asked him things like why, how, and what happened after. If he didn't want to share, that was fine too, of course, and I won't ask again. But I was surprised that he willingly answered, and I think he was surprised that somebody asked. Ultimately, I wanted to be there for him and show him that someone is paying attention. He eventually pulled himself out of that dark place with his own strength. But I wanted to make sure he knows that there are people who care. Former high school teacher here. First, she shouldn't have forced you to share. Forcing someone to share personal information like this is super risky and really poor judgment on her part. Secondly, I appreciate the honesty with which you answered the question. I am positive a lot of your classmates could probably relate to your situation, even if they didn't say it out loud. Childhood is painful for most, intolerably so for many. It's important that we acknowledge the painful experiences in life, and use that as a catalyst to help us cope and process and move on. I'm proud of you for sharing something so personal, even though it was painful. I hope your teacher and classmates learned something that day. As a massive introvert, I hate sharing anything in class with a passion. Please ask for volunteers, or at least take "I don't want to share" as an answer when you ask. God, I hate it. That was a stupid assignment for a teacher to assign. Even people from comfortable backgrounds know that not every student in their class has a sweet childhood history. And then to require public sharing on top of that? Fuck no. You gave this teacher a learning moment. Good for you. I do this when people are pushing for why I don't seem okay. I get some weird dark sense of satisfaction in oversharing to the point that they regret the conversation. This sounds so familiar. I also had a not-so-great childhood, and the first 3 weeks were all about finding out about everyone and their pasts in every single class. Assignment after assignment was about it. From the "Where I'm From" poem, to a name story, to literally providing pictures to give someone and they have to try to guess how you grew up. And then afterwards, tell them which parts they got right or wrong. It sucked, and I'm still not finished with most of those projects because I'm procrastinating. The right to pass is real. I'm so sorry for what you went through. By all rights, you appear to be a strong person. And that's good. That aside, this was excellent malicious compliance. And I'm thoroughly pleased you got to do that. Best wishes moving forward.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.